Am I the idiot for telling my sister I will never accept her or her life choices? I'm grounded with no phone, so I'm using an old phone with 20% battery, so this has to be rushed, so excuse the grammar. I'm 16F, I've a half-sister, 29, from my mother's first marriage. We had a good relationship given the age difference. A few months ago, it came out she was an adult actress. Her bio dad disowned her, which made my mom super protective. She made her out to be this brave, amazing person. I didn't say shit even when they'd have casual conversations about her work at the dinner table. Someone from my school found out about a week ago, and her videos have been sent around. The only thing stands go for me is summer break has already started, so I can at least hide somewhat from everything. I'm praying another scandal happens before September. I'm not going into details of what's been happening, but I've lost friends and was forced to delete all social media. I've been staying in my room mostly, and I've not been able to even look at my sister. She didn't know till tonight. But one of my remaining friends' mom reached out to my mom asking about everything. I don't know what was said, but I heard yelling from my mom's end. Then she demanded me down to the living room, then called my sister and my dad for a family meeting. Long story short, mom is angry at me for not defending my sister, and she wants me to reopen my TikTok account to make a public message defending her and name shaming basically most of my school. I know this will make it worse, so I told her no. My sister was quite upset, so she asked me was I ashamed of her and demanded me to explain why I couldn't support her. I was so angry at this stage, I screamed this was all her fault, that I will never support her or her life choices. And I wished she wasn't my sister because my life has been hell, yet she has the nerve to play victim. It got really heated to the point my dad walked me into my room and told me stay there. Mom came in later, took my phone and told me pack my stuff, I'll be staying with my aunt, dad's sister, for the foreseeable future because she can't stand to be around me right now. I can hear them in my sister's room, she's still crying and mom's comforting. Comment 1. Same here. While I personally do not see anything wrong with it, like you said, it is still controversial and not socially acceptable. Anyone who works in that industry needs to mentally prepare themselves and accept the fact that there will be many who will disapprove. Op did not agree to that. Moreover, she's a literal teenager, and teenagers are judgy, and Op will face the backlash from her classmates. Edit to add judgment. Comment 2. Agreed. You especially cannot expect a child to come to the defense of an adult when it's the child who's getting bullied as a result of the adult's actions. OP needs support right now to deal with the problems she's experiencing at school / within her social circle. She doesn't need for her parents to blame her for her bully's words being hurtful to someone who isn't actually the target of the bullying, and doesn't have to see them and speak to them regularly. I'm deeply sympathetic to OP's sister feeling hurt that her own father has disowned her. I'm not at all sympathetic for her attempt to make OP being bullied all about herself. Yes, she's the precipitating factor, but no, she isn't the victim in that situation. And for her mother to support her and punish OP. Terrible parenting. As much as I will never support throwing a child out, I think OP might be best off living with her aunt and starting at another school. It's just a pity her own parents won't support her against her bullies. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my brother he cannot come to my wedding? I, 32F, and my fiancé, 30M, are getting married in 3 months. We've done some major and minor planning, including rules. We specifically want no kids at the wedding. My brother, 35M, and I have always been close, we've gotten through a lot together. He has 2 amazing kids, 2 and 3. I couldn't be any happier to be their aunt. Their mother has had issues with substance abuse, so she isn't in their lives. My brother raises the kids by himself, which is convenient because he has an at-home job. Me and my fiancé decided we did not want any oids at our wedding because we were going to be drinking, partying, and other stuff I personally wouldn't want kids to be around. We've also had struggles trying to have children of our own, and I recently had a miscarriage in February. The miscarriage was devastating. Of course my brother was there to comfort me, but the sight of my nieces shattered me even more. I asked him to not bring them around me for a while. He didn't respond to that well and stopped visiting me at all. He said via text messages, "If your own nieces cannot come, neither will I." My fiancé said it was okay to ask for no kids to be around, but my parents were frustrated. They also stopped visiting me. I eventually sent out invitations to all my loved ones. The card had all the details, including the bolded "no kids." Majority of family was okay with that and didn't have young kids anyway. My brother, on the other hand, was going to be in my wedding, but once he read the invitation, he sent me a text stating, "Wouldn't your nieces make great flower girls, going but dresses now?" I replied saying, "No need, they cannot come inside my wedding, no hard feelings." He then said, "It shouldn't apply to them, they are family, what color should they get, blue or silver?" I then replied, "None. If you feel like you cannot be separated from your children for a couple of hours, then you cannot come to my wedding. My rules are clear and final on the invitation." I blocked my brother after that. I have non-stop been getting text after text, call after call, begging me to talk to my brother and allow my nieces to come. My own parents have stated that until my nieces and brother are allowed at my wedding, they will not be there. Comment 1. YTA, not for no kids, but for how you've communicated. I think a child-free wedding would have gone down a lot better without the months of ignoring them beforehand. I'm not sure if there's missing details, but it felt like your communication style is really abrupt. Maybe English isn't your first language and something is being lost in translation. I'm just going to say that you get to choose your priorities and boundaries, but you don't get to choose how others react. Your relationship with your brother may be irreparable, and you might really regret that if you do have children in the future who never get to know their cousins. Comment 2. Exactly, and the fact that there is a side to choose clearly shows the lack of respect and support. I think OP was reasonable in her time of grief and voiced her needs. Their reactions of taking it personally, it was not personal, this was her trying to help herself cope, are their responsibility. She is not to blame for how they decided to be offended at someone trying to regain her mental health. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for correcting my stepdaughter's dad when he called me her nanny? I've been with my wife for 8 years now. She has primary custody of her daughter, Santana, 9. Santana sees her dad, Mark, every other weekend and some holidays. As I've been one of Santana's primary caretakers for the past 7 years, since I moved in with her mom, I've taken care of her more than Mark has and we are quite close. My wife and I went on to have 2 children together, who are now 5 years and 18 months. I've been a stay-at-home dad since the 5-year-old was born. As a result, I'm the one making lunches, driving kids to activities, etc. That includes for Santana. Mark has always felt insecure about my place in Santana's life. I've always encouraged her relationship with her dad, while also been a place she can go to in order to vent about both her parents. I've never asked her to call me dad, but I've made it clear I love her the same as her siblings. And she's also said she loves me and considers me her second dad. Mark also mocks me for my SAHD role. My wife always shuts him down and I just ignore him. He has in the past jokingly called me Santana's nanny and I just roll my eyes and say, "Whatever you think, Mark." I really don't see him much as my wife will take Santana to her dad's and pick her up. However, yesterday, my wife was sick and asked me to pick up Santana. She really couldn't get out of bed and I knew Mark wasn't going to drive out to us, he's refused in the past. So, I went over to his place to pick her up. He was throwing a barbecue and had some family there. I had never met any of them. Santana ran into my arms, excited to see me and shouting my name. A few people looked at Mark curiously. He laughed and said, "That's Santana's nanny." I shook my head and said, "I'm her stepfather, Greg. Nice to meet you all." Mark turned red and barely said, "Goodbye," to Santana. I didn't think much of it outside Mark just being Mark. However, Mark texted my wife later saying I humiliated him, and given I'd likely never see those people again, I shouldn't have said anything. My wife told him he's overreacting and he then texted me, saying I had no right to correct him in his own home. He asked what was the big deal in his family thinking I'm her nanny. Comment 1. This has happened in both our house and I know at Mark's. My wife and I have always been in the school of, it's up to her what she calls me, and of course he feels differently. But I'm also not going to deny the girl calling me her dad when I raise her. Comment 2. Yeah, something like this should be merely a blip. Like, a bad joke that everybody forgets. The sperm donor is either super incredibly insecure or has made up some things about his XES situation that OP just busted apart. There is something about this situation that made it much bigger than it should have been on Mark's end. OP told one line that was entirely the truth. OP and his so sound like they are doing a wonderful job, from limiting Mark's interaction with OP to letting the little girl decide what to call OP. We see so many jerks no matter the gender that it's nice to see. OP is NTA. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for asking if my daughter-in-law fell when I heard of her miscarriage? My son announced his wife's pregnancy at 8 weeks after hearing the heartbeat. Unfortunately, she had a miscarriage around 10 weeks. When my son called me on the phone, I was so shocked that I just blurted out, "Why? Did she fall?" She did not fall, by the way. I didn't realize I was on speakers during that call, and my daughter-in-law overheard my reaction. When she got pregnant again, they didn't announce until well into the second trimester. Due to my daughter-in-law ending in a very unexpected C-section, my son requested my help to come over. I cooked, cleaned, did laundry for them, washed the baby, etc. Despite all my hard work, she was still very cold towards me and treated me rather poorly. I finally asked her why, and she admitted that she was furious when I sounded very blaming when I asked if she felt that's why her previous pregnancy ended in a miscarriage. I told her that I asked if she felt not to blame her in any sense, but out of concern for her. I said that I am aware there are other reasons that miscarriages occur, as members of my immediate family have suffered the same. I was very sad to hear the news. All of us were so happy, excited about her first pregnancy, then next day heard the sad news. We all called to speak to her directly and see how she was, but were told she was not ready to speak. We tried to give the space and time she needed for the situation. I don't think she believed me though. Am I the idiot for asking if my daughter-in-law felt that's why she had a miscarriage? I now see that I was acting like the passageway of excrement. I guess I now understand why I was never invited again to their house to see my other newborn grandkids after that. They only introduced their new babies when each turned over half a year old. I don't think I will apologize regarding the fall comment, since the first birth happened 7 years ago, and it's just weird if I suddenly bring the topic now that they have a new baby again. I might be accused of pandering like my daughter-in-law has accused me of gift bombing previously. Thanks everyone for the wake-up call. My son did his best to be there for his wife for 2 weeks. 1 week was the baby and mom inside the hospital due to complications. My son just then started a new job and couldn't take longer days off, so I volunteered to stay a bit more when he had to go back to work. Comment 1. The estimate is that more than 25% of pregnancies miscarry. There doesn't have to be a reason or an event, it can just be a non-viable pregnancy. Now that you know this, you can refrain in future from trying to pin down a reason, lessening the danger of making an already grieving person feel blamed. Comment 2. I think one reason your generation talks more about miscarriages is that you actually know when you've had an early one. I'm 57, and when I was in my 20s and 30s, pregnancy tests were nowhere near as sensitive, and most of the time, you just thought your period was late, heavy, or you skipped one because of stress or something. Now you can get a fairly accurate result pretty much as soon as the sperm and egg shake hands.